And an update now on Edo State, where residents have shunned the curfew imposed by the government. A drive round major streets in the metropolis shows that residents are not complying with the stay-at-home order imposed by the state government. As at 8 a.m. this morning, there were bonfires in parts of the city, while commercial drivers are having a field day, running their businesses unhindered. Major shops, banks and businesses as well, and offices, however, remain closed.
And joining us now for more on the protests across the country is Niger Delta human rights advocate Annkio Briggs. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.
For having me.
Let me ask you, what do you make of the ongoing protest and SARS campaign? Despite the government coming out to say they have been dissolved, we have set up a committee, human rights committee, to look at these extrajudicial killings by the police. State governors have also been urged to set up judicial panels, which we have currently, I think, about 7-8 governors who have done so. But the protesters are defiant. What do you make of this protest so far?
Well, it really is a sad situation that we find ourselves in, but it's not surprising because we cannot say that we were not aware that we will get to this point. We were clearly aware. SARS has been disbanded more than 3 or 4 times in the past decade in Nigeria. SARS has been terrorizing the youth of Nigeria. It started actually very viciously in our side of Nigeria, in Rivers State and in the Niger Delta. Now, the fact that the government says that it has accepted whatever points that the youth are raising, it's not enough just for people like Tinubu and government officials to come up and say, call off the protest. It's not enough, because if government says we have heard and we will do, it doesn't guarantee that they will do. And so they need to come a step further towards the people that are protesting, towards the youths that are protesting, and say that this is what we will do, and put a timeline and put a time frame to what the protesters are asking for. That shows goodwill. That shows that they are truthful and that they are honest. I mean, the fact that when the Lagos State governor took the demands of the youth to the president, and he found it hilarious, he found it sarcastically funny for him to give a sarcastic laugh, shows very clearly that you people it's like, just get off the street and let's see how you're going to get back into it. And then you see how it has degenerated from infringing on the rights, into the infringing on the rights of the protesters, to the point where very clearly hoodlums are involved in attacking the protesters. And it's not good to say there are clashes. There is no clashes with anybody. They are being attacked in Lagos. They are being attacked in Benin, all over the place. And this thing is systematically rising, and the world is watching. This is a basic human right. All over the world, there are protests going on in America, Indonesia, everywhere. Nigeria is not different. People have a right to protest. Mothers have a right to protect their children. Grandmothers have a right to protect their children. The government has to do far more. Far more. It's just paying lip service to this issue. And then when you hear youths from the north, the Arewa youth getting up to say that there will be war if Buhari is made to leave office because of this protest. Look, people before have left office because of protest. Buhari is not the first person. Buhari demonstrated against Jonathan. So to say that because people are demonstrating, protesting for their basic right, that will come to war. No, it will not come to war. And even if it comes to war, if that's what the people want to ferment, they will find the word that they are looking for, but they won't find it, hopefully, in my region and in my state. What Nigeria is doing today is shameful, and they should step up and be a country that they claim that they are, and move forward and resolve this issue with Nigerians, not just the youths anymore now, with Nigerians, because everybody should be involved in this protest by now.
Thank you, Mrs. Briggs. And what would you say should have happened at this point, that we should have seen at this point as Nigerian citizens? Many have said that maybe we should have seen some resignations, or maybe we should have at least seen some of these officers that have been called forward being arraigned to court. We don't seem to have seen any of that yet. Instead, what we are seeing is replicas of 24-hour curfews being imposed. Started in Edo State yesterday. Lagos State now today has also imposed a 24-hour curfew. We don't know if another state is going to come next. What's your response to this?
Because it's a strategy. It is a strategy that is being fermented. This strategy is bring out thugs, attack the thugs. What was the essence in burning the cars of business people that had nothing to do with the protest? So that's the strategy. Ferment trouble, release the prisoners, and then the governors will have no excuse or no other way but to impose a curfew. Now, when you impose curfew in Edo, you impose in Lagos State, and you're going to impose it now, it's going to be like attack the next place, then everybody. So basically, the government is, the federal government is watching while thugs are determined they should be under arrest
Mrs. Briggs, do we have you with us? Unfortunately, we have lost connection with her. Let's bring her back into the studio, Adesua. You know, we see that in other countries around the world, protests go through different stages. And there are a lot of youths now that are really doing the right thing and making the right suggestions I've been seeing online. For example, I've seen a lot of young people saying, hey, guys, why don't we, instead of having several protest locations in different cities, do what we can see in places like Hong Kong, where protests eventually end up going into like 2 major locations, and we can stick to 2 major locations rather than being everywhere. And we're seeing a lot of constructive suggestions that are coming up. And it's such a shame that peaceful protesters who should be allowed to exercise their rights are being hindered by what we're seeing going on, mobilized armed thugs. It's honestly just a big shame.
Indeed, it's heartbreaking. And you know, talking about decentralizing this, actually concentrating this protest in few places, some will wonder perhaps the lack of leadership. As we do know, the protesters have tagged this leaderless protest. One will wonder to what extent is this a challenge for them to regroup and strategize that way?
Let's bring Mrs. Briggs back into the discussion. I do think that we have her now. I know there are a lot of CSOs at the forefront also trying to push that message. Mrs. Briggs, do we have you back with us?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am. Do go on. Sorry, we lost connection with you a couple moments ago.
I didn't hear the last question.
Oh, okay. Let me just ask a question. We're waiting for you to conclude on your initial point. Let's talk about the police and the reforms that the young people are asking for. The police in Nigeria has been under-resourced, inadequately trained, unaccountable to a lot of people for decades, paving the way for the many abuses that have now been pervasive. Do you think that this protest is the tipping point? Do you think that this protest can bring about a reformed, efficient, and effective policing in Nigeria?
Yes, I believe that it should, and it would, because we have said in the past that what the police is going through right now, the police have been abused, and the police have been mismanaged by the system. You can't pay police officers 50,000 naira. It's not a living wage. Look at where the police live. Look at their way of life. They buy their own uniforms. It's unacceptable. They are human beings. They have no ideas of what the rights of the citizens are and what their own rights are as police people. When the police die, they throw them their families out of whatever squalor they are living with called police barracks. They've been maltreated, mistreated by the very system that seems to be protecting them right now, but actually it's not protecting them. I feel for the police. I would not want a family member to be honorable. It's an honorable profession. It should be an honorable profession. So quite honestly, the federal government, going back from this federal government till even when Balogun was indicted for corruption, the police have not fared well. But they should not take out their frustration on you and I. They shouldn't take it out on our children and on our grandchildren. No.
Very well said, Mrs. Briggs. I'd like to ask you, what advice do you have for the government in terms of their response to the protests?
It is their responsibility, and the world is watching Nigeria. It is a basic human right to gather and to exchange information and to express oneself. Now, as long as it is done peacefully, it is the responsibility of the federal government to provide protection so that these hoodlums don't come in carrying machete, whatever guns. There was a gun I saw online carried by a youth, and they said it was in Abuja. It's horrifying. The government in this particular assessment and in so many others, but talking about the protest, the government once again has failed and failed woefully. And the state government must do more to protect the people in their states that are protesting. That is, the state governors must do more. We should see the governors coming out to join the protesters, to talk to them in their midst, like the governor of Bayelsa State did, like Rivers State did. When they come to you, you address them and let them know that you know and you feel and support their right to say what they are saying. If you don't agree, you don't agree, but you must support it because it is an issue of right. Whether you like it or you don't like it, they must be provided with protection, not people being beaten up, not people being killed, not people's innocent people, their cars being burnt. And the fact that the protesters are protesting does not make them criminals. The criminals are the people that have abused them over the years, over the decades, for having an iPhone. Look, I'm afraid to give my car to my nephew, to my son, who, if he's around and he needs my car, I'm afraid to give him my car because somebody has decided that he does not qualify to drive a car like that. Wait, what type of society are we creating in Nigeria? Government must own up to its responsibility. It has failed. It has failed the youth. We may also have failed the youth, actually.
And what do you make of the judicial panels of inquiry and restitution inaugurated by the state governors? Isn't that meeting a part of the demand? And what should be the exit plan for the protesters, seeing that 2 states have now imposed 24-hour curfew?
Well, on the issue of compensation and stuff like that, how do you compensate a mother or a father or a wife for the loss of a loved one? There is no compensation. But really and truly, compensation always just indicates the fact that somebody has accepted responsibility. So in that case, the government must accept responsibility, and a figure, a very hefty figure, should be put on the on the total of what is going to be paid. But there must be a restitution, and the people who have committed this crime must never find themselves in a position where they carry gun or they have authority over one extra person apart from themselves, because they have demonstrated that they don't have the capacity to control themselves. And so we must vet the type of people we take into this sort of environment and give them AK-47 and let them loose. So the advice to the government is that they must listen to what the youths are saying. It has gone from the issue of SARS to so many other issues. It has gone to employment. It has gone to security. It has gone to good governance. It has gone to so many, many, many things. And the president himself have not done well. He has failed because anytime there is crisis in Nigeria, he takes it lightly. He doesn't listen. He doesn't want to do what the people expect him to do as president. I don't believe in this thing about referring to him as the father. He's the president of the nation. He was not nominated, voted in, as they claim, to be the father of Nigeria. He is voted in to be the president of Nigeria. And he is not acting presidential, and he does not talk presidential. So these are the things that we demand. It's not just the youth, the parents, people like us have been talking. It's just that we've never found the courage to go on the street and occupy the street for 15 days so far that the youths have done. We've not had the courage to do so. And now that the youths have had the courage to do so, we must join them. And I join them and support them as a mother, because I'm a mother, as a grandmother, because I'm a grandmother. I must support them. I must protect them. No youth should be manhandled or killed or arrested. And all the people that have been arrested since the beginning of this, and even before this protest began, must all be released, because they are just there at the pleasure of the of SARS or one DPO or the other. The police must know that they too have children. They must know that, and they too must take responsibility. We agree that they've had a bad deal. This fight is also for the police. This fight is also for the military. It's for everybody, because they've not been dealt a good hand. But it is not good enough reason to take it out on the citizens of Nigeria. It is not acceptable.
Many thanks to you, Mrs. Annkio Briggs. It's been a pleasure having you on Newsday today to look into this and get your perspective on the NSARS protests.